Hello, everyone, and you're extremely welcome to another podcast on our channel, narcscon. And today we're bringing you part 2 of the aftermath of a narcissist discard, which is extremely hard to climb out of. We're going to give you coping tools that I know work, having personally used them, and coaching numerous clients for many years. So these are the go-tos if you actually have the wherewithal to embrace these tools and put them into action. You will actually thrive, not just recover, but you will thrive after the effects of a relationship with a narcissist. And you can actually turn it around. Not that you would have wanted it to happen, but because it has happened, and if you implement these tools, you'll come out way, way better than you could ever imagine. It's like kickstarting your life. It's like refreshing your life. It's like a feeling that you're determined to fulfill your purpose because somebody nearly destroyed you. So you can make this work for yourself. It's very difficult to hear this when you have just been shocked into a discard, by the person, being discarded by the person that you really loved and thought loved you. So there is a stage that's particularly dangerous, to be honest with you, where you feel nothing. You can feel numb. You can feel a great sense of what's the point? There's a kind of a hopelessness, non-direction, losing of the self, a grieving process, complex grieving process, which it is. There's a sense of then survival, choosing to survive, but not knowing quite how. So I'm tending to actually, I suppose, bypass that stage to a certain extent where you're in survival mode and you begin to think that there might be some point in your life and, re-engaging in your purpose, or you start to feel a little bit yourself again, where you're actually able to commit to these tools. But if you are in the state where you just don't know where you're going, maybe listening to this podcast and even trying out some of the tools, even for one day, might help you to get you on the right path. So with that said, let's get into, I think I have 8 things down that I find are very, very effective. And of course, personalized coaching, it will totally expedite your healing process because you can personalize it to your situation. And if you want that or think that you would value, that would be of value to you, the email address is narcscon@gmail.com and we can set that up. But without that, if you want to just use these points here, I wish you very well on your journey forward. So, number 1, this is nearly 50% of the healing process. And I'm sure that's why you're listening to the podcast, because you found this gives you some relief, explains what happened for you in the relationship, and unscrambles your mind to a certain extent about who the person was you were with in that relationship where everything was so chaotic. So learning about learning about narcissistic personality disorder, and learning why they do what they do can help you depersonalize the situation, which is extremely healing. Because the narcissist sets up to personalize the situation, in particular, to actually purposefully personalize your relationship so that you feel that you're to blame for all of the troubles in the world. You're to blame for the rainy day. You're to blame for the car not starting. If the narcissist can offload blame on you and you take everything personally, which is the purpose of the narcissist's interaction with you, then the narcissist is relieved of any accountability or any self-reflection and can just feed off you and take what they want from you, which is a form of emotional regulation, which the narcissist will try and do with other people. So learning about the narcissist is hugely healing. And don't be worried if you're watching podcast after podcast to try and get yourself regulated back again, because your brain is not well after a relationship with a narcissist. Everything you thought was true seems to be questionable. And to come back to yourself, you need to relook at the narcissistic relationship and understand what was the truth of it, what was actually going on in the relationship, so that you can start to move forward. So that's a big part. And the tool I would give you in relation to that would be, if you're sitting there or you're working or you're doing whatever you are in survival mode, and a thought keeps coming at you and hurting you, you know, the narcissist said this to me in that situation, and you keep feeling very down or sad because you keep having that thought, or why didn't they love me? Why have they gone off to somebody else? Is that person better? Are they getting a better version of the narcissist than I did? You know, or will they come back? Will I be hoovered? I would suggest catch that question that's making you feel really bad, write it down, and then go and research it and get the answer from whatever podcast or educational material you can find in relation to that. And write down your answer. Write down the answer that makes sense to you. And the next time you have that rumination, go to your notebook and re-regulate yourself with the answer. It is so effective. I cannot tell you how effective it is. So you can control your thoughts, which controls your emotional state, which controls your drive and life's purpose. So it's a fantastic tool if you'd like to use that one. Number 2, you know, having come out of a narcissistic relationship and having to do all this complex grieving and having to do all this education, we do tend to get a value out of reevaluating our past relationships, particularly parental relationships, particularly upbringing, particularly past intimate relationships, workplace, friends, whatever relationship caused you pain and distress. It's very interesting and healing to relook at any narcissism that was going on in those relationships. And I don't mean that we look back and say, oh, you're to blame, you're to blame, you're to blame. I think you'll instinctively pinpoint the relationship, one or two or whatever, that made you feel similar to the relationship ending with the narcissist, because there's a similar dynamic going on. And it's time now to be able to heal that. When you've been so torn apart by a discard, when you've been so scrambled, when you have to rebuild yourself from the foundation up, it's extremely helpful not to put the crumbly bricks in, the chaotic bricks in from maybe a childhood relationship, so that you look at that, you sort that out in your head, or with a therapist, or with coaching, or with podcasts, whatever way you do it. You come to the conclusion that, that's what was happening. It wasn't about me. It was about the person not being able to see me or love me or allow me to be myself, which may have made me more vulnerable to the narcissist that I met in adult life. So when you can look at that relationship, it's like, as I often say, 10 years of therapy condensed into one. You can really sort out what happened to you maybe in your past and what you want to do with that. The other advantage that you can make out of this dreadful experience is it can help you evaluate who your friends actually are. Who are the ones that are loyal to you? Who are the ones that kind of sided with the narcissist? It gives you kind of real glasses as to who's who in your life. And you can make decisions about whether you want to keep those people in your life, or if you want to keep them in your life, how are you going to be with them so that they don't keep sucking your energy and you can thrive even having them in your life, keeping them at a distance. So it ends up if you use the tools to being a good outcome for you out of what seemed like the most devastating of all outcomes that you could ever experience in your life. This is about taking back your personal power. This is about, maybe for the first time, taking your personal power. So use the bad experience for your advantage. Number 3. Now, I found this very therapeutic, but it is hard to do. And sometimes the best approach is to do what you can do when you can do it. So this is about clearing out any memories of, any physical memories of a narcissist, maybe around your home or a place that you used to go, or whatever. They usually will leave belongings at your property or in the joint place that you live together. They will do this purposefully, and that's a whole new podcast. But they know leaving things behind is actually going to give you hope that they might return, or is going to keep you stuck in your recovery journey, because every time you see those things, your emotions are going to well up in you again, and you're going to feel remorse, sorrow, regret, all of these things. So this is done on purpose. So what I would suggest is maybe clearing things one by one as you can, letting go of things, either thrashing them, burning them, or returning them. If you can, the ideal would be gather up all that crap of the narcissists that he didn't take on their little donkey as they were riding out, and send it to Donkeysville. Poor donkeys, nothing against you donkeys. Send it to wherever they have slithered, so that you don't have to look at that and be reminded of the negativities that they left behind. It's very therapeutic. And even reorganizing or redecorating your space so that you have a total physical transformation in your surroundings. That's you. That's your taste. That's what you like. That's reflecting who you are as a person. Because remember, they tried to wipe that out because you had to become an extension of the narcissist in order for them to be able to control you and for you to be of use to them. So these may seem not that big a deal, and it does take energy to get to the stage where you can actually do this. So I'm not saying you get up the next day. You know, sometimes we wake up and we just don't want to be awake in the initial stages because it is so painful. But what I'm saying, if you can do even one of these things on a day, incrementally, you're going to recover and rebuild yourself, like to be the best version of yourself. I promise, I promise, I promise. I've experienced it, and so many of my clients have. And some of them even say, I'd love to say to the people who are just starting that actually at this stage, and please don't let this trigger you because it's an awful thing that happened to you. But after going through the recovery journey, some of my clients say, I'd like to actually put in the comments that this turned out, because of the effort I put in, to be the best thing that ever happened to me. And that's extraordinary, because obviously some people don't get the chance to go on a recovery journey. So we have to bear that in mind as to how destructive and how deadly a relationship with a narcissist can be. Okay, number 4, make yourself a project. Like, take yourself, your humanity, your person, and decide this is a project, like a renovation project, that you're going to renew, make whole again, and delve hugely into your own humanity and what's important to you. And that you're going to use these tools step by step to work on yourself so that you get to the stage where you love your work, where you love what you've worked on. You've put a lot of effort, time, and love into yourself. And that's the way we can love ourselves. When people say, well, self-love and just love yourself and then you'll be okay. And you go, how? Like, I think I love myself. Like, how do I love myself? Loving yourself is respecting yourself, putting effort into yourself, doing all the things you probably would have done for the narcissist, but giving it to yourself. And it's not selfish, because every human being deserves to be loved. So if you've just been shown a hell of a degree of non-love, well, it's about time you doubled up on getting that back and loving yourself. It's very important, this making yourself a priority and a project. It is not selfish. It's what I call part of the divine purpose of every human being here. So not loving yourself is actually going against God, the universe, anything that is what makes us human and beautiful. And 1, 2, 3, I think this is 5. Sorry, I haven't been keeping count very well. I would also suggest making a healing journal, because I think the healing journey, usually you can see big progress incrementally every 3 months. At least that was my own experience of where I was 3 months ago. To look back on that was a very different place to where I would be 3 months hence. And then, of course, the 6 months and the yearly markers are immense, big, huge. So it is interesting just to note down how you're feeling, note down any progress you've made. Say you've done your clear out of narcissist, you've done your physical clear out, you've redecorated your bedroom. Note down all those things that you do, so you see exactly what you've achieved in that period of time, and then write down what you're feeling on that day. Say every once a month, once a week, whatever you want to do, to see what progress you've made, because that's also reaffirming to your brain that you're healing. It seems very simplistic, but your brain needs this care. It's like loving your brain and getting your brain back to work for you in a healthy way. Next point is building a I can't read my own writing sometimes, it's terrible. Okay, let's go on to the next one, and we go back to that. Oh yes, building a project. Yeah, okay. Building something that's important to you, that maybe you were doing before the narcissist came along and left off. So it's re-engaging in something that was important to you, that the narcissist would have taken you off the path. Maybe, saying the relationship that the two of you will work on something together. There's no need to be doing that, or leave your job. Anything that would have given the narcissist more control over you. So going back and picking up what is important to you is also a very good part of the healing process. The next point is to rebalance your hormones with the following tasks. So the narcissist made sure, and I have this covered in Weaponized Love, the book I have out on Amazon, the whole process as to how the narcissist will get you to be only validated by them, and they're the whole source of your feel-good hormones. So it's as if they take over the process of regulating your feel-good hormones, like your dopamine, your oxytocin, your serotonin. It becomes so that they will try and isolate you from any outside feel-good factor. They'll try and stop you from doing things like exercising or whatever you were doing, or your sporting activities, or your eating plans, whatever you were doing that used to give you a good feeling about yourself, that used to reaffirm who you are, that used to actually chemically make you feel good. They will have tried to become your chemical regulator. So you're on a very flatlining or depleted feel-good hormonal level after the narcissist has left, or you've left them. You're also probably going to be in adrenal fatigue. You're actually mentally, emotionally and physically exhausted after the experience with the narcissist, who has literally plugged in a feeding tube to you, from you, and sucked all of your energies in every single sense out of you. So you are in a state of depletion, often with post-traumatic stress disorder, and building balance to rebalance your hormones and then to be able to self-regulate again is extremely important. Because without this element, it's very hard to do the other things we were actually suggesting. So if you look at exercise and food and passions, whatever made you feel good about yourself before, and try and reintroduce them, even if slowly. Like even if, when I say exercise, even if you can just about get out of bed and you walk around the house, then you walk into the garden for 10 minutes, then you go on a 5-minute walk, or you just go out the front door and back in. Whatever exercise means to you at whatever stage you're at. Obviously, if you can get to a stage where you're going swimming or running or climbing or hiking or whatever you did before, or even trying something new that you didn't do before, anything that gets those hormones going again. And don't worry if you try and do something like, say, you take up running or hiking and you still feel you're flatlining, you don't feel good after it. It does take time. Don't give up. Have faith, keep the hope, and keep repeating it. The day will come when you go, I feel good. I actually do feel good after doing that. And even if you don't feel chemically good, at least you can feel psychologically good that you're putting in the effort, and you know, because other people have survived this, that you will survive it, and you will start to emotionally regulate yourself again, or hormonally regulate yourself again. Okay, the next thing I have down is self-analysis is very helpful. And what I mean by that is having a good look at yourself, and we do this in coaching again. We discuss who a person feels they actually are, and we write down, we do different exercises in writing down self-exploration, negatives and positives. We discuss them, we see where they're coming from, and the focus is on the self, which you maybe never had before. Maybe you did, but a lot of the time, the person who is most destroyed by a narcissist is a person who hasn't self-actualized as a child, hasn't been given the opportunity to feel totally loved or to be seen totally. You may be pretty healthy in this regard, but if there was a chink in your armor and the narcissist exploited that chink, then this is a great exercise, the self-analysis, the self-seeing, the self-analysis as to who people think you are and why you think you're this because people think you're it. It's a great sorting out process. It's so healthy. It's so self-validating as well to actually just concentrate on yourself for a while instead of going around helping everybody else and negating yourself. Sorry, I have a little whimper in the background there. Waiting and looking to go for a walk, so I better hurry up and finish this podcast, but I did want to make this podcast. I haven't been on for a little while. So the last thing I have down is focusing on a long-term goal, working towards something. And again, the other thing I said was looking back to see what progress you've made. But if you have a goal, you have a destination that you would like, a dream you would like to fulfill, a destination you're working towards, a purpose to your life, which is what the narcissist kind of would have repurposed your purpose, if you know what I mean, by aligning it with them and a future they want to create, a future faking you into something that wasn't going to happen. So if you can reclaim your self-power and focus on a new purpose, that maybe is something you wouldn't have dreamed of before for yourself. Because a lot of the time in life, we float along with the events that happen to us. We let life happen to us rather than put a structure on where we want to go in life. So it's like being out on a raft and, seeing what island we end up on, or it's going on the raft and taking a compass and saying, I want to go there. And how am I going to get there? And I'm going to get there because of this, and getting there because you decided that's where you were going to go, and not just ending up with whoever came along your path. And I know that was very pertinent for me. So it's very fulfilling to be able to decide that's what I want to do, and I'll do my best to do that, rather than get waylaid by any little sidetrack that anybody wants to take you down. So guys, I hope that was of some help. Again, if you would like personal coaching and accountability on your journey, you know where to email. But if you don't, using those tools, I promise you will get you to the island of your dreams. That's it for now. We'll be back again soon. Take very good care of yourselves in the meantime.